Hello beautiful, welcome back to Nat's Beautiful Life. Today is day 1 of the 12 days of Christmas, and today I shall bring you one pile of garbage. That's right. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I can think of that I have DNF'd this year. And the list isn't super lengthy, but there's some gems on here. Now, when I DNF, if you don't know what DNF means, it means did not finish. But if I DNF a book, it's for, a couple of reasons. One, the book is utter crap and I don't want to read it. What's going on with my hair? And then the other thing is maybe it's not the right time. Like, I've started reading it and I'm just not in the mood for it at this moment. So, got to move on. And maybe I'll put it down and pick it up later. The other reason is because I don't own the book. So a book that maybe I would finish if it were mine, but it's not really a book that I can sit there and just like read. It's either like very like heavy content, like really dense material, or it's just something that like if I had it and could read it in little spurts, then I would do that. But it's a library book that maybe has like a waiting list or something. So for that, then I would DNF. And once again, that's probably one of those books that I may pick up again later. All right, so the first book I want to talk about is The Book of M by Ping Shepherd. I saw this book in the page, what is that called? Book Page magazine that you get from the library. And it looked like a really cool concept. So basically, one day people get this, I don't know if it's a virus or what. My face is itching, I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. But there's a virus or something. Of course there's a virus. But everybody's who gets it, their shadow disappears. And when their shadow disappears, then their memories disappear, because apparently our memories are attached to our shadows. Decent enough premise. However, when I start reading this book, I realize what on earth is going on? My printer decided at this exact moment to do a cleaning. We're good now. All right, so like I was saying, as I'm reading this book, I notice that not only when you get infected do you get a memory loss, a loss of a shadow, you also develop some sort of magical powers where whatever you think of happens. So, for instance, the main character and his wife are like in hiding because you don't want to be around people, you don't want to get infected. The world's in chaos because people are disappearing because I don't remember, I mean not disappearing, but you know what I'm saying. Things are not going well because people are forgetting who they are, what they need to do, their jobs, and all of that stuff. So they're in hiding, and while he's out hunting for food, he sees a deer who, instead of antlers, has wings for antlers. And then he realizes that someone who's infected has seen this deer and not known what antlers were and assumed they were wings, and so the deer magically had wings for antlers. And it's about at this point that I'm like, and I'm through. Because things would just appear, like if somebody thought or needed or wanted a knife or something and they were infected, it would show up. And I'm like, okay, so the world's systems are completely unraveling and people have magical powers. And no, I was done. That was like, this is garbage. I'm not wasting my time with this. So disappointing. Book of M, bye-bye. The next book was a nonfiction, a little disappointing. I have it written down here. It's Text Me When You Get Home, The Evolution and Triumph of Modern Female Friendship. And this is the author here. And I didn't write that down, so don't have it here. But, now, the premise of, like, this title sounds amazing. And the prologue of the book was phenomenal. It was so good. And it was just talking about, like, when like our female friendships are like text me when you get home and what that really means, what we're really saying in that, and all these things. And I just thought it was really great. But then I got into the chapters and I was like, this is not the book that I was promised. I was promised the evolution and triumph of modern female friendship. And I was getting basically like stories or complaints. I don't know. It just didn't mesh with the title that I was so excited with. It didn't really mesh with the spirit and the context and everything of the prologue. And I was just like, I don't think this is the right time for this, or just maybe this isn't for me. So that one, I wouldn't say it was complete and utter garbage, but it just didn't match the title. So I DNF'd that one. Wasn't for me. The next one, some of you may be shocked, but it was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Is that it? This book, a lot of people really love it, but I didn't realize until after I started reading it that, and just kind of looking on Goodreads and then talking to people who attempted to read it, that it's kind of hit or miss with people. So you either really love it or you're just kind of mad about it. The only reason why I picked it up is because the local bookstore that is local to me, they have a book club, and every now and then I'll go to that. So that was a book club book for the month. So I did the audiobook, and I gotta tell you, they picked the perfect person for the audiobook. The narrator was phenomenal. They could not have chosen a better person for this particular book. However, I listened to quite a bit. I got way into this book, and I was just like, this isn't for me. I am not enjoying this. I am forcing myself to listen to this book. And it's just like, it was compared to another book, and I was like, oh, I see it now. And that would be a much more powerful statement if I remembered what that book was. But anyway, it was like these mages have these powers, but they're like attached to these gods. And it was very confusing and weird, and I just didn't enjoy it. I was not enjoying the story. So I DNF'd that. I was like, I'm not forcing myself to do this anymore, because this is a long book. I mean, it's a long book. It's a long audiobook, and I was just done. Was not enjoying it. So that's one that I DNF'd. And according to the person who does the moderator for that book club, it was kind of that whole, some people liked it, some people were like, meh. So it was kind of mixed in there, so I didn't feel so bad about it. All right, so I'm going to talk about two that I DNF'd because I didn't own them, and then we're going to go back to something else. So the first one is Hit Makers, and it's like the science of popularity and why we like it. And I'll put it on the screen. But that was by Derek Thompson. This book is really good, and this is the only DNF'd book that you'll see on my Goodreads like read list, because I read about 80% of it. It was very good information. I learned things, and I enjoyed it when I read it. But it was a lot of dense information, and so that was one. It was a library book. If I owned it, I would probably have finished it, but I didn't own it, so I didn't. And it was just like time to return it. So that's the deal with that. It was a very good book. I gave it a high rating. Really liked it. The next one gave me anxiety, and I was just like, I can't finish this. I can't do this right now. It was one I would have had to read, put down. But it was a brand new book, and people were on the wait list at the library, so I couldn't hang on to it. But that was The Dry by Neil Shusterman and Jared Shusterman. I love dystopian fiction anyway, but this was like taking you from our current life, our current society, and watching it fall into a dystopian society. And it was good, but the level of like anxiety and stress while reading this was real, and the fact that I was going through a stressful time anyway, it was just like something I was like, I cannot read this right now. This is not the time for this. I will need to pick this up some other time. So that was one of those DNFs. I was enjoying it. It was good, but it was just like, and we need to move on right now because I just can't handle it. All right, so the last book I'm going to talk about is a book that pains me to talk about because I was so excited to get my hands on this book. I wanted to read it so bad for so long, and everybody that loves this book, it's like their favorite book. They love it. And I'm giving disclaimers here first, because when I mention this book, some of you are going to be like, and others of you are going to be like, no. So that's why I'm giving you disclaimers here. So when I started to read this book, I got about 4 or 5 chapters in, and I was just like, I cannot do this right now. And I felt bad about that because I was so excited to read this book. It is a lot of people's favorite book that I like. And yeah, so I started looking on Goodreads, and I noticed that there was only 1 3-star rating that I saw. Everything was either 5 or 1. So it's a very polarizing book. And here it is. Nevernight by J. Kristoff. And thankfully I've heard that some people are like, this book just isn't for everyone, and other people are like, you know, I couldn't finish it or whatever. And what bothered me, it was not the way it was written, and it was not the postscripts and page notes on the bottom. I love Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it is just page notes on every page. So it didn't bother me at all. The way it was written, it took me a minute to figure it out, but once I did, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But once I, like I said, when I was getting into the meat of the story was good, and that's why I'm like, I kind of maybe will pick it up some other time. But I don't like gross books. Like, I can handle blood, gore, fighting, things like that. But there was like a part that they were going by a brothel or something, and they were like, well, for one thing, there was like a gross person, and I don't do snot, I don't do spit, I don't do any of that. No. But there's like, they're going by a brothel, or like walking by it, or meeting someone, I don't know. But then in the footnote it says, at this brothel they cater to basically anyone, so if you want man, woman, animal, or corpse. And I was like, and I'm through. That's gross. I can't handle it. This is not the time for me to be reading this book. Like I said, the story itself was interesting, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, and I was heartbroken because I was like, why does everybody, and like people that I love their recommendations, and I love them, and this is their favorite book, and they're obsessed with it, and they have all kinds of memorabilia and all kinds of things for this book, and I just can't do it. So that's one of the ones where I'm like, maybe one day, but not right now. Yeah. So that was one that pained me the most. So my DNFs for the year so far are, or that I can remember, are The Book of M, Text Me When You Get Home, Children of Blood and Bone, Nevernight, and then of course the ones that I gave a high rating to and ones that I was enjoying will be Hitmakers and The Drag. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Join me tomorrow, or tomorrow. I am really being like gung-ho about this. I don't know if it'll be up tomorrow or if it'll be up shortly, but day 2, second day of Christmas, will be up soon, and I have all these videos like planned out. I am so excited for the 12 days of Christmas. I hope you are too, and I'll see you soon right here on Nat's Beautiful Life. Have a great day, gorgeous.